It lays somewhere deep within the confines of our very nation, locked away in the deepest of forests. You wouldn't find it on any map, and hell, most people would raise an eyebrow at you if you asked of its location. They would tell you it's just a myth, or something you read about on the internet, but you can't believe them. If you look hard enough, you'll find it. A town. A town of maybe 600 people, all filled with smiles and a skip in their step. Everywhere you look, there's a feeling of togetherness, of joy, and something else. Something much darker. Much more sinister. Don't be fooled by the paper-thin smiles and the smell of apple pie. Something about this town just isn't right. Perhaps it lays in wait in the dark corners between the convenience store and the police office. Could it be staring at you from the rooftops, or is it watching you from the sewers down below? You aren't sure, but at this point your hair is probably standing up on ends, and for some reason you can't quite shake the feeling that something is behind you, smiling. Don't look back, though, at least not yet. So, what's the story of this place? Why is there such a sense of dread in a place that most people would kill to live in? What are the people here hiding, and more importantly, do they even know? Well, it all started a couple 100 years ago, when America was still young and eager for its independence, back when this town went by a different name altogether. It involves a cave in the distance, a mysterious figure with a face of bone, and a giant of a man that promises to doom all in his path. So sit down and promise me you won't look at the townspeople while we talk. Best to keep their attention off of us at the moment. This is a tale of a town named Sable. Sable, Episode 1, An Introduction to Crow. There it sat, perched upon a stone monument to some long-forgotten deity. It was a tall, lanky figure, garbed in nothing more than rich, black feathers that went from its neck all the way down to its toes. Its face was hidden behind a mask made of bone, not even a hint of its features showing through the thick shadow the mask formed. Its eyes, or at least the large holes where its eyes were probably located, just stared off into the growing dawn sky, its body barely moving, as if it weren't even breathing. Perhaps it wasn't. Perhaps it was just a part of the decrepit shadow. Maybe it was a corpse, or maybe, just maybe, it was a figment of the imagination, a trick of the eyes. No, what stood atop the monument was very real and very much alive. If one were to look close enough, they would see the figure's fingers dancing lightly against the head of whatever this statue used to represent. Soft hums could be heard pouring from wherever its lips were. An old song, older than time itself, perhaps. This figure was not some long-dead soul, nor was it an ornament. It was just waiting for the right moment to be seen, to be heard. This was Crow, a being who had existed long since before the people who erected this statue, and even longer before that. Crow was a protector, of sorts, but of what could have been anyone's guess. It kept to itself, only speaking in low tones to some unseen force in the trees, and it always managed to stay just out of one's sight, unless it wanted you to see it, of course. This was not one of those times. No, Crow knew that today would be a day better spent in secrecy, but, like all creatures, its curiosity got the better of it. Surely a little peek wouldn't hurt, would it? "Is it time yet?" Crow asked, every word seeming to rip at its already thin vocal cords. It stopped the dancing of its fingertips, keeping them balled into fists as a response was waited upon. At first, the wind was the only thing to announce its presence, ruffling the dark black feathers surrounding Crow's form. If Crow was affected by such a bellowing gust, it made no indication, staying as solid as the very stone beneath it. "Soon," a chorus of voices rang, seeming to come from the very trees on the forest. "Very soon," another chorus chimed in, louder, closer. "You are not supposed to tread here, watchling," a third, even louder. "I am not treading," Crow quipped, perhaps a bit more annoyed than it wished to show. "I'm merely looking. There are no rules against looking, is there?" "You have grown frighteningly curious as of late, little bird." "Very curious." "Maybe deathly curious." Crow shook its head, not knowing if what was speaking could even see its actions. "It's hard to not be when the very earth trembles beneath my feet. Something is coming, yes?" Crow waited, adding, "Something powerful is coming. Something dark, evil." "Ancient," one of the groups responded. Energy surged in the air, causing Crow to grip the statue with large, talon-like fingertips. "But what is it? You told me long ago that I would know of all things, all forces in the world, yet somehow you've remained silent on this." It had to raise its voice to be heard over the ever-growing humming. "What is so daunting that you could not even tell me, your most faithful?" There came loud groans and shrieks that almost sent Crow off of its perch as it clutched desperately at its own ears. The world around it was unresponsive to the symphony of chaos that rang, animals frolicking beneath the statue as if everything was normal. But to Crow, this was hell. Torture. "You still have time to flee, little bird," a voice whispered. "No need to lose yourself today." Crow nodded, beginning to descend off of the monument. There was a loud boom filling its ears, and for a split moment, Crow lost balance. The poor soul crashed against the heavy rocks beneath it, bones cracking and blood-curdling screams escaping its lips. It couldn't move, any inch of movement snapping a couple more rib cages. Why hadn't it been more careful? The world around Crow was soon filled with the deafening beats of 1,000 drums, all marching closer and closer to where the statue stood, seeming to shake the entire world with each hit. Why were the animals not listening? Could they not realize their own end was soon approaching? Where were the voices? Why could Crow no longer feel their presence amongst all the other sensations filling its broken body? For the first time, Crow felt utterly useless, and worst of all, alone. The world soon grew cold and dark as Crow closed its eyes, probably for the last time. Pain began to fade, and a coolness washed over the figure. Death, after countless years, was upon Crow's doorstep. Would it answer? "Not today," a familiar voice whispered, wrapping arms around the almost lifeless figure. Crow did nothing to resist the pull back into the world of the living, its eyes locked upon the visage of a woman, garbed in pure white, with skin blotted with the cosmos. She looked upon Crow with a welcoming smile, as if to assure the broken thing that everything was going to be all right, despite the howls of the world around them. No further words were spoken as the woman lifted Crow in her arms with no effort, heading back towards the woods. It wasn't long before the forest was no longer filled with the sound of nature, but instead filled with the deafening cries of the damned, howling loud into the sky before everything grew dark. This was the beginning, or was it the end?